Have you ever felt like you're just surviving? Like your life is stuck in survival mode, doing what you have to do just to get through the day? Maybe you're wondering if God sees you. Maybe you're asking, does all of this even matter? Well, today I want to tell you the story of a woman who probably asked those same questions, but chose to keep walking anyway. Her name was Ruth. And before she met Boaz, the man often highlighted in sermons and love stories, Ruth was just a woman who chose to serve, stay faithful, and trust God, even when it didn't make sense. This is the story of purpose before the promise. Our story begins in a time of deep sorrow. Ruth was a Moabite woman, married to a man from Israel. She wasn't born into God's people. She didn't grow up hearing the stories of Abraham, Moses, or the Promised Land. She came from a nation known for idol worship. But somewhere along the way, she married into a family who served the one true God. Then, tragedy struck. Ruth's husband died, her brother-in-law died, and so did her father-in-law. 3 women were left behind: Naomi, the Israelite mother-in-law, and her 2 daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah. With no husbands, no sons, no security, these women were left in a culture where widows had almost no way to survive. Naomi, bitter and broken, decided to return to her homeland, Bethlehem. She told her daughters-in-law to stay in Moab, to go back to their families and start over. Orpah eventually did, but Ruth refused to leave Naomi. She said something so powerful it still echoes today. "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God." Ruth 1:16. Think about that. Ruth walked away from everything familiar, her land, her people, her comfort, and chose to follow Naomi into uncertainty, poverty, and inside, Ruth had encountered something real. The God of Israel had touched her heart, and even though she didn't know what was next, she believed he was worth following. That's the first lesson. Sometimes purpose begins with a yes in the middle of your grief. When Ruth and Naomi arrived in Bethlehem, they had nothing. No house, no money, no food. So Ruth got to work. She asked Naomi if she could go gather leftover grain in the fields. Back then, it was legal for the poor to pick up scraps after the harvesters. It was called gleaning. This was hard, sweaty, exhausting work. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But Ruth didn't complain. She didn't wait for someone to rescue her. She didn't say, "God, I'll work when you bless me." No. She just showed up. Day after day, she bent down in the dirt, picking up grain, scrap by scrap. Here's the powerful truth. Ruth was walking in purpose before she even knew what the full plan looked like. She was serving. She was faithful. She was consistent. And guess what? She ended up working in a field that belonged to a man named Boaz. Now, Ruth didn't know Boaz. She didn't go there to catch a man. She went to work. But Boaz noticed her. Not just her beauty, but her character. He asked around, "Who is that young woman?" The workers told him about her loyalty to Naomi, how she had come from Moab, and how she had been working hard all day. Boaz was impressed. He made sure she was protected. He told his men to leave extra grain behind for her. He gave her a place to glean safely, and even invited her to eat lunch with his workers. But catch this, even after Boaz extended kindness, Ruth still went back to work. She didn't let favor make her lazy. She didn't act entitled. She stayed focused. That's the second lesson. God often positions us for favor while we're serving, not when we're sitting idle. Now, Naomi, being older and wiser, noticed what was happening. She told Ruth, "Boaz is a relative of ours, and he's one of our family's kinsman redeemers." That meant Boaz had the right, according to Israelite customs, to redeem the family line by marrying Ruth and restoring their inheritance. So Naomi gave Ruth careful instructions on how to approach Boaz in a humble, respectful way, essentially letting him know she was open to redemption. Ruth obeyed. She wasn't manipulative or pushy. She moved in wisdom, not desperation. Boaz responded with honor. He told her, "You've shown even more kindness now than before. You didn't run after younger men, you've honored your family, and everyone knows you are a woman of noble character." Ruth chapter 3. Boaz took the proper steps to redeem Ruth. He handled the legal matters, protected her reputation, and eventually, he married her. Together, they had a son named Obed, who became the grandfather of King David, whose family line would one day lead to Jesus. Let that sink in. This woman, this foreigner, widow, outsider who simply said yes to serving, to staying, to honoring God. She became part of God's redemptive plan for the whole world. Ruth's story isn't just about love and marriage. It's a story about purpose. It's about trusting God before the breakthrough, about showing up in the field before you see the harvest. Ruth didn't chase Boaz. She chased purpose. She didn't wait for a platform. She served with her hands in the dirt. And because of her faithfulness, humility, and obedience, God honored her beyond what she could have imagined. So, if you feel unseen, if you're in a season where you're just trying to make it, if you're picking up scraps and wondering if it matters, don't stop. God sees you in the field. He sees your consistency. He sees your loyalty, your obedience, your quiet sacrifices. And He knows how to send divine connections at the right time. Before the Boaz, before the breakthrough, before the blessings, there's a field. And Ruth's story reminds us, the field is sacred ground, so stay faithful, keep walking in purpose, because God writes the best stories, and yours is not over yet. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.